I'm a sales guy. I sometimes kind of maybe not, it's not my preferred activity to do the admin stuff. Let me put it mildly, yeah? I hate it, to be honest. Startups are not built for the investors or for the entrepreneurs. Even though Evopath can do 100 different things for 100 different clients, the name of the game is
Evopath a product or a service?
Be very crisp about your value proposition and find your audience.
Today's guest, Bogdan Neacsu. Bogdan is an entrepreneur and founder of Evopath, an AI-powered task management systems for sales teams. With over 20 years of international experience leading sales organizations, from financial services in Luxembourg and London to education, technology, and SAS, he has built a track record of driving growth in complex markets. Through his sales Accelerator framework, Bogdan creates a clear and actionable sales execution plan. Then, with Evopath, he enables teams to put that plan into motion and deliver results with consistency, precision, and predictability.
Bogdan, welcome.
Hi, good to
Hi.
be here.
First question for today is, why did you leave a corporate world and actually moved to a founder of AI company? What drove that?
Wow, that's an interesting question, because when I first thought about it, I thought it was partially because I wanted to do something new or exciting, but I think that the deeper meaning of me moving into an entrepreneurial role had to do with the fact that I kept on hearing the same answer over and over and over again from most of my clients when I was looking into some of the problems that they were experiencing, and the solution kind of was the same. And I thought, hey, I could actually take this and turn it into a business that could scale for all these guys. So it was the opportunity to actually contribute to those specific problems that I was hearing over and over and over again from my clients.
And what was the difference from the expectations that you've started with while you were sitting still in the corporate world and the real life experience at the beginning of the journey?
It was well, there were a couple of things. First of all, I had already spent about 20 years, most of which for the past 15 of those years, I had spent living and working in places like Milan, Italy. Then I moved to Luxembourg. Then I spent quite a few years in London. And I had seen a lot of the landscape of some of these clients and their specific needs and some of the ways in which different companies were answering those specific needs. So that was part of the finding element.
Yeah.
And then I realized that, I could kind of create my own playbook and be more flexible and create my own oyster to play in and work with in terms of how can I bring that same value to the client, because I felt that I needed my own world to create and bring to market to my clients in a way that I found to be unique, I think.
So that was what you started with.
Yeah.
And the reality that you found,
Oh,
what
it
is the
was
difference?
Yeah, I was completely wrong. So none of the stuff that I thought would happen happened.
What was the biggest dissonance that you've encountered?
The fact that you can build a product that the client will get it because they're kind of in your head and they can hear what you're thinking and they can see what you're seeing. And with a very, specific sales process that I've been doing for the past 20 some years, the client will kind of get it. The client does get it when you have a big name behind you and when there's 1,000 different other clients who've been doing the same with the same product, and then you've been doing it with that same client. You know what they say, that no one ever got fired for buying from IBM, right?
Yeah.
But then in a startup world, it's like, no. There's an actual, very specific use case that your dear client will have to think about, that I need to identify together with you and we'll put this technology to work in your specific case for your sales teams, for your specific organization. So that was the biggest dissonance that I found, and it took me a bit to figure it out.
So tell us a little bit more about the product that you are doing, because we started already discussing about the differences, but we don't know yet about the product itself.
Sure. So the startup is called Evopath, and the product is doing task execution for sales teams. So with the help of AI, of course, everything is with the help of AI these days. But what we do is we make sure that we use a little bit of learning and rewards to make sure that sales teams execute on their sales plans faster and better. Sales and pre-sales teams, to be honest. So because we do have some use cases specifically for pre-sales and sales teams. So what that means is that we use as much as possible a framework of executing the tasks as quickly and as efficiently as possible by making sure that you do a bunch of things. For example, that you replicate the past success faster across teams, that you learn from other people's mistakes and your own successes, or the other way around sometimes, and that there's a system in place that helps you take the intelligence from what you've been doing in order to replicate that success across teams, and across even organizations, because I'm working with different clients with different sub-organizations within the same client.
So when you're saying task, you're actually referring the day-to-day task that a role, in the case of sales, would actually do, right?
Yeah, for the most part is regular tasks. For example, how can I best prepare a sales meeting? And it can be different. So how can I use some of the stuff in my knowledge repository that myself or other people in my team have been doing successfully that I can use in order to prepare a certain meeting? Or what other products or what other offers I've been doing, and how can I replicate that to use so as to prepare for my next meeting? Or maybe the other way around, at the end of the sales meeting, how can I quickly document it without being such a burden to document stuff in CRM? I've been using quite a bit of CRM systems over the past 15 to 18 years. And, I'm a sales guy. I sometimes it's not my preferred activity to do the admin stuff. Let me put it mildly, yeah? I hate it, to be honest. So if there is a way to do it fast, and there's a way to say, okay, this is what I've discovered for this client, and these are my immediate to-dos. And if there's a way to do that as a way to close the loop on that task, on that sales task, then happy days. I can use that time to do something else that I would not have to do the admin stuff into any longer. So from this perspective, we are integrating with various CRMs, with Evopath, so that the task element of the pipeline management is done inside of Evopath and then integrated with various CRMs.
So let me see if I understand it correctly.
Yeah.
So you integrate, for example, with HubSpot or a similar product.
Sure.
And HubSpot has, it's generating its own tasks, but you are taking over those tasks. You are taking them by API, and you are showing them to the sales agents. Yeah. Apart from those tasks that are generated by HubSpot, you are adding other tasks that are delegated directly or created recurrently or similar. Yeah.
Correct.
And from that moment on, the place to live for the sales agent is not HubSpot, but it's your system. Is this correct? So, or I missed something.
Yeah. I mean, the tasks live in Evopath, right? But they can be seen both from Evopath and from
the CRM of choice.
Yeah, or any other system in which there's a task element to it, because we can integrate with other ecosystems, sales ecosystems, where tasks are an important element of it, right? But the actual definition and execution of the task is managed inside of Evopath.
So if I'm a sales agent,
go ahead.
And I want to say that the task is done, I will be declare it as done in Evopath or in HubSpot.
The former.
Okay, good. And what Evopath is bringing on top of the tasks that are generated by the CRM?
Mm-hmm.
It's getting more data from other system, or what is doing?
There's a bunch of stuff. For example, it makes it easy for managers to control their sales, because whenever they first, and we do this in a couple of ways, different ways. One is to create the task like this. Because much like salespeople don't like the admin stuff, the managers hate it. Like, oh, okay,
I need to create a
I need
task
to
for
create
this
a
guy.
task
Nah.
and do this and do that. That's a bit of admin stuff, right?
Okay.
But what about if I could create a task that's valuable for me, where I can very easily use AI in order to bring some define some guidelines on how they can go about completing that task, and also defining some deliverables of what should you do in order for me to consider that task executed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, for example, for the more sophisticated tasks, like, for example, I need to, go to a new client and to identify a value proposition that's quite different than another client that I've seen this time last week. And it can help me build that task fairly quickly by using the repository by means of what is now called, RAG, the Retrieval Augmented Generation. With my own documents, it learns from my own documents and helps me build my future success based on current documents, right?
So practically, let me see if I understand it correctly. One of the tasks will be you need to prepare for the meeting with company X.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And normally this, you would rely on a cron to generate that particular task that is just one liner.
Mm-hmm.
Today, Evopath, it's putting there a list of questions and things that you really need to prepare with, or it's also adding information that he finds online or something like this for the sales agent to be prepared for the meeting.
Yeah, both things. So, and the second is even more important than the former. The first one, for example, it gives me 360 context, what we call the learning part inside of each task. We want to sprinkle a little bit of contextualized learning with every task, right? And some rewards as well, but I get to that in a second. So what it does is, in the context of this task, this is what you should do. For example, you should take into consideration this the mechanic of this sales campaign that we are doing. So there's a one-pager that's attached to the task. Or here's 3 quick things that you need to talk to your client in the first 60 seconds, according to this salesperson who've done this same thing successfully last month. And I can attach a 30 seconds video to the task. Or I can attach, or the AI from
Can
Evopath
decide which
will decide, okay, this and this and this and this will help this salesperson do this task faster, better, and more successfully so. So it's contextualized learning. It helps me on the spot to understand, okay, what do I need to do in order to be the best at doing this specific task for this specific client, and not generically, but specifically to this task. And then there's the element of reward, because not only do I have to know how I should do it, what should I know in order to be good at doing this task successfully, but equally so, why should I bother? I mean, what's in it for me, right? Salespeople usually think in those terms, and rightfully so. So we also add a bit of a mix of incentives and rewards and recognition, whether that be a badge if they've done a presentation faster than expected, or we could add some points or rewards to that task, which also gives me a sense of prioritization, because if there's 10 tasks that I need to do, one has 100 points attached to it and one has just one, I know which one is a priority and which one's not. And how about recognition? Because we work sometimes with not just sales teams, but maybe pre-sales teams or marketing teams that are not necessarily measured in commission, money in the pocket, but rather what do I need to do in order to be on that salary raise list this time next year when you're building one? And the answer is, well, in the everyday tasks that I'm going to send out, or weekly tasks, some of them will be so important that I'll look at them at your employee review. So I just need to tick a box in my Evopath task, and that person receiving the task knows, oh, okay, that's one of those tasks that they're going to look at when they're going to do my review. So it's that important a task.
Do the points time degrade? Time degrade meaning if 5 hour pass, it will be 10 points less?
Yeah, there's a bunch of gamification ways.
Okay.
I mean, that's, there's a bunch of ways that we use in order to create a sense of urgency where we want to create one, and also a sense of, what happens if, what are the rewards or what's the recognition if you get this job done within the time frame that we need a task to get done.
So your ideal client profile,
Yeah.
how does he express the problem that Evopath is solving and that is welcoming you for?
That was the horcrux of the problem, and that I thought that would be an easy answer to that question. But what I found out, and it goes back to what I was saying in the beginning, that I was completely wrong. I was way off about how does the client know? So what I've been doing is I said, okay, look, sales is what I've been doing for some 20 plus years. So what I need to do is to make sure that I guide the client and they guide me as well in understanding what's the biggest pain point and how can I address it properly with the system. By pain point, I mean, when it comes to sales teams, there can be, for example, look, my clients are churning. They're not renewing my contracts. And that's my biggest pain because I need to do repeated sales and 50% of my clients churn. Mm-hmm. And I need to decrease that from 50 to 30%. That's a big pain.
That's a big pain.
Right? So, but in order to get to that, sometimes there's a process. And by process means we need to sit down and answer, okay, how do you do the current sales process? Who's doing the qualification? Who's doing the deal closing? Is it the same people? We need to do some pipeline deconstruction, see how you qualify, how you develop, how you close the deals. Then maybe, what's the average deal cycle? How long is that? Mm-hmm. And what could be some bottlenecks? So we look at the process, right? And we find the bottlenecks, we find the things that the client does right in the process. And only then can we be eloquent in pointing out, okay, so look, you are maybe aware that you have a 50% churn in your client base, or maybe your average salesperson is taking 3 months to close a deal, but your best performance take 3 weeks. So how can we replicate their pipeline management success into the rest of the salespeople? And this is the kind of sales audits we call them. So the shorter answer to your question is we need to figure out client by client because there's not a one size fits all answer. And different clients have very different ways through which they need to solve this problem because the problem can be quite different.
So that means that what I understand is that for clients, it's difficult to self-qualify for the product. Do I understand it correctly?
Yes, 100%. And, after a while, I understood that it's much more my job to do that with the client than to ask the client to do that by themselves. And what I did when I found that out was I created exactly a program. We call it a sales accelerator. So first things first, we need to understand, okay, what's the biggest point? What is the final aim to which we subordinate this product? We find those use cases. And this is what I've been hearing over and over and over again. Use case is king. How do I need to put this product to the benefit of my organization in my specific use case, even as a sales team? And that's where AI can be specifically valuable as opposed to generically valuable, or where it can be challenged in terms of does it really add value to an organization. And one of the biggest learning lessons for me was find your use case, find out what this client needs to use it for, find out what this other client needs to use it for, find the specific use cases. Is it, in the case of one of my recent clients, I'm not answering enough RFPs. I need to build more offers. I need to create more answers to the RFPs. So instead of answering 5 RFPs per week,
I need 15.
So how do I do it? Okay, great. That's a great objective. Let's delve into that. Let's see how are you answering those RFPs now. Let's see what you can render more efficient and how we can put tools to work, such as Evopath or others, AI-based tools. How can we put technology to work to hit your specific sales objective? Mm-hmm. So that's where we have now the thinking about it, which is the sales accelerator, where we look at the process and we look at how we can make it better. And then, okay, let's execute that. Once we plan it, we don't do paralysis by analysis. We do in small digestible chunks. And now we just go ahead and execute by putting the product to work into a framework that's more efficient. That's rendered more efficient because it's audited, the steps to be taken, and now I kind of used a bit of a broom in the house before I can come and change the furniture. I need to, my house needs to be clean with nice clean windows, and now I can bring in the new furniture to help me, build a nice looking house.
If from the whole amount of things that Evopath can do, you would need to choose the most promising, laser-focused problem resolution, let's say, like problem that the client would employ you for, what would be that problem? That laser-focused problem?
I think that's exactly it. The laser focus is the actual thing, making it easy to bring clarity and predictability to your sales process, building an engine that works predictably and repeatedly in your organization. Because what you sometimes happens is I always hear people saying, oh, sales is such an art. No, it's not. It's science. So if you do the right things in the right order on a curated sales process that fits your organization and what you're selling and who you're selling to, if you know your value prop, if you know your ideal client profile, and you can go to market in a curated way, then happy days. You just have to do the right thing enough times and the numbers will come.
So like if the sales department is an engine, you would be taking the engine of a normal car and mount it on a Formula One car and making it work like a Formula One engine.
Yeah. I like that metaphor, especially since I've seen that F1 movie recently, and that was pretty great. Well, it's a Brad Pitt movie, so. Meh. Well, that plank he was doing, just sitting on his head, that was pretty amazing. So anyway, I like that.
I don't recall.
I went straight back to the gym. I told my wife, look, that was a good learning lesson. I got to hit the gym again because what that guy's doing in his 60s, I'm having troubles. I had troubles doing it in my 30s. So I got back to being fit.
So
just going back to your learning curve.
Yes.
You said, well, I was completely wrong at the beginning, but I just want to ask if you can point out one of your personal biggest learning in this period since you quit and you started Evopath and the day that you are here. What would you say you learned about yourself?
No one will care about a business more than you do, and you shouldn't expect them to. And that's, if you start from that, then you will approach things with the right humbleness.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
I mean, your role, startups are not built for the investors or for the entrepreneurs. They're built for the clients. So if you're there to solve something that's valuable enough for the clients, you'll be successful too. People will care about your product. They're going to buy it. They're going to pay for it, and you're going to be fine. But that's all there is to it. And that was that's the starting point of the correct startup mindset. That for me was completely different from a corporate mindset. Even in the corporations, I was lucky enough to build. I worked for the biggest selling banking software company in the world from Switzerland. Or I was a regional director for the biggest selling learning management systems in the world for universities, and I work with the biggest clients, with the biggest universities, with the Oxfords and the London Business Schools and the INSEADs and all the big banks out there. But in the corporate world, it's different because there's 100 other different things around that you need to look at. There's the implementation, and then there's the sales process is part of of a system that usually works. So you just need to make sure that the system fits the bill. And you kind of take for granted that this big system that's done something quite successfely for 100 or hundreds different other clients will work the 101st time. And these are some of the ways in which we've done it. and this is, it's adopt versus adapt, right? We can adopt this best practice to your dear client. Whereas as a startup, what the biggest learning was that, and the transformation for me was that it's not the product doing it. The product can do 100 different things, but it's up to you to find out what that is. What's the biggest, most valuable things that you can do for the client, the use case, and then put that product to good use in that specific use case to make it work. And it took a bit of time for me to understand that. And this is part of the reason why we've built the Sales Accelerator, because now we are very crisp about what does this client need in terms of sales. How can we help their sales team? How can I put my 28 years of sales experience to work in this specific case? So we build, is it the digital footprint? Is it some outbound campaigns? Is it the pipeline management? Is all these things, how do they translate? So we strategize, we theorize a bit, we think about it with the Sales Accelerator, and then we go execute it with Evopath. So it's not AI for the sake of AI, it's technology put to work for a very clear objective that has a very crisp sales execution plan built and ready to measure.
How much does, based on the visits that you did to the clients, the trying of the selling the Evopath, so how much of the people you've met actually understand their need for that? Because when you say AI, everybody wants to do something with AI. I remember we also had, I think, a discussion with someone who said, "Oh, for God's sake, if I hear one more time AI, everybody was with AI." So, on a like 1 to 10, when you say 10 is the maximum, 1 is the lowest, I would say what's the reaction when it comes to the CEOs or the people that you try to sell is when you say, well, this is what Evopath does it. Do they get it or do they not get it? What's your view on that?
Look, I'd reframe that in the sense that whoever doesn't get it is not their fault. It's my fault. I need to explain it better. And that's exactly why, even though Evopath can do 100 different things for 100 different clients, the name of the game is what is the most important for that client. And that's the most important element of it, especially in sales, right? Because they're really pragmatic people, and even C-level people, the founders or owners or the CEOs and the COOs and the CFOs, they care about how can I make more money? How can I have less costs? How can I decrease my risk? And the answer is, okay, let's look at the system first. Let's look at the process first. And here I'm speaking specifically about the sales process. And then we'll put Evopath to work in those to those results. So we'll make it work for that specific use case. And let me just be more specific. For example, I'm working with 2 very different clients at the moment. I'm doing 2 different sales acceleration audits. One is a quite established sales teams, but the bigger problem is management having better control on the sales activities, because
they don't really know what the people in the sales are doing, or they want
sales
to control
are autonomous.
Yeah, sales are quite autonomous, and there's a bunch of stars there kind of do their thing, and my job, my Evopath job, is to kind of make it a predictable sales engine that works regardless of what's happening there, right? To make sure that people do the right thing often enough so as to generate results. So that's one case.
Yeah.
The other case is, I think I hit the nail on its head with my product market fit. I'm a startup, technology startup looking to scale up, and I have a bunch of early adopters. I think I got a bit of a product market fit, but I'm not sure if I should go this way or that way. So there's a bit of a chaos, but kind of creative chaos going on. So I need to put a bit of a structure in my team. And these are 2 very different cases where Evopath can help them very, very differently. In the first case, it's task management, right? For the managers, it's like, okay, you kind of know who's doing what. And for them, it's easier to do it because you have AI kind of helping them around with a 360 view on each task to do it faster and better. That's one case. But then there's the other case where you need to figure out more a bit, different type of tasks. For example, what's my value prop for this new industry where I want to go, or this new market? So let's build, it's more macro objectives that I can manage through Evopath tasks, and then use AI to do that there. And it's a different type of objective because it's going from 10 clients to 100, as opposed to going from 500 clients to or 1,000 clients to 1,200 in an established sales organization, as opposed to a growing sales organization that has quite different objectives. So that's a bit of a long answer to a specific question, but it's different strokes for different folks, as they say. Every use case is quite different, and that makes it even more important to kind of use the experience that I have to kind of to rightfully understand how can I add most value to you specifically, as opposed to a kind of a template that fits all.
Is Evopath a product or a service?
No, Evopath is 100% a product. It's a license-based product, SaaS. It's a per user per year, no questions asked.
Okay.
So Evopath is a product that helps managers, create and manage tasks fast and more easily, and helps sales teams to go ahead and execute their sales plans and their tasks faster.
Does it work without facilitation?
It does. If you are an established organization that know your stuff, and you say, look, there is one case, I'm still kind of thinking, should I challenge this more, or should I just take it as it is? Because you say, look, I kind of get it. I know where we're at. And I just need to put AI to work. There still needs to be a little bit of understanding of the specificity. But yeah, 100%. Evopath can be used off the shelf as is. And, a client, if they have a great, digital transformation or change team that's well-versed in doing it, they're going to do it by themselves. That's great. It's in this specific stage of Evopath, it's a more rare bird, because usually, for this kind of products that are now kind of building the best use cases, the best practices, and kind of seeing where does it fit best or better, it's more often than not the case that clients appreciate a bit of guidance towards, okay, let's put this to work.
And I need a little bit of help.
And they need a bit of help, yes. But that being said, as a product, it's 100%. It can be used off the shelf as it is. You just do a little bit of parameterization. You do a little bit of integration. Okay, what's my learning management systems that I want to use to kind of take those learning elements and include them in my tasks? What's my rewards platform that I want to maybe include so I can, use some third-party integrations with APIs and whatnot? What's my knowledge repositories that I need to connect to? And all that stuff. So there's a bit of an integration work to be done. But that's... you can make a 4-week installation fairly...
And how old is Evopath now? Like the product in the market and so on?
Well, we're fairly young. I mean, we've had our launch at the end of 2024. And we actually decided to launch at a time where we already had some proven use cases. So we were fortunate to have Vodafone as a test bed for a bunch of use cases. And actually now we are working with the pre-sales teams to help them answer more RFPs and to use AI to say, we're saving up to even maybe 70%, 70 of our time with the help of Evopath, because, we can structure our answers faster, better understand what the tender dossier says. So that's a very clear-cut use case, right? It's always serving the use case. It's back to my initial point, And of course, Vodafone is an established organization. It was they knew their stuff pretty well. They knew what they wanted.
So they were mature from
exactly
management point of view.
Exactly. So it was not so much hand-holding in terms of, consulting or doing the research and development on the use case too much. It was, this is kind of what we need, and we're looking for tools to help us do these things, help us render more efficient this activity and this activity and this activity. And it went quite... well from there, because they were more mature in where they saw the gaps that they wanted filled in. So their ideas were pretty clear.
I was hearing you when you said, the Evopath as a product is for either, this established or the second part, and you were talking about the tasks. the task management. I think that's what you said. And it ties up with a study I read last night from Harvard. It looked at 50,000 software developers globally. Half of them were actually using GitHub Copilot, which I never heard about until last night, but now I know what they do, which is a generative AI tool for the people like me who don't know it, yeah? And here's what they found. Employees using Gen AI started doing tasks that used to be done by their managers more. They didn't just write better code, but they also solved problems independently. So that means that actually they were less needy when it comes to their managers. Harvard says this shift didn't just save time, it flattened hierarchies. Low skills coder improve faster and managers spend less time on basic mentoring. And with that in mind, I just want to ask you, do you think that Gen AI will make middle management irrelevant or more strategic?
I don't know is the right answer to this. I don't know if middle management will be, because, there's a bunch of stuff to consider. I don't know is the right answer to this question. I'm seeing things that make me think, middle managers will have more to do rather than less. And then there's, for example, making sure that teams between 5 and 20 people perform better and better. So making sure that small size teams perform well, that's, I think, a management function that a middle manager can do brilliantly. Now, what will disappear is the capability of middle managers to justify their roles and their existence in the organization by being just micromanagers in chief, right? Because that will be less and less done by people, because I think AI and the opportunity is in AI helping us evolve in such a way that it will enable us to do more of what we're good at, of what we can do. And it's not just for middle managers. It goes, I think, for many, many other roles as well. It will, and this is also in the sense of where I see AI going and where I've seen some successful use cases, especially in helping people be the better versions of what they can do and what they are good at, and using AI to improve and to, what's the right word I should use, to amplify their capabilities rather than replace specific capabilities. And where those, if those capabilities could be replaced by AI, then it wasn't a valuable thing maybe to begin with. Or if it was something that could have been replaced by maybe a better process or a more automated process, or there were other ways to go about it, better than having that person doing that thing. So AI is more a blessing in disguise, the way I see it, that way, because it did it was just a technological advancement that showed us an improvement that was there for the taking. And then it's our job as people to help it amplify what we're good at and what we can do better and what we can excel at. And again, from a more philosophical perspective, if you will, I see it more convergent with the people rather than, it's people versus AI. No, it's not. I mean, we are at the beginning of a curve, and sure, it seems more disruptive than constructive at this point. But the way I see it, the great opportunity is to embed AI in our lives, in our improvement and our evolution and our learning as people, as individual contributors, and as professionals, and even in the daily life, like you were saying. We do the same in how good are we to have a banana bread recipe or whatever it may be, from the most from the simplest examples to the more complicated ones in our professional lives. Yeah, it can help us improve. And if we understand how to define those use cases where it can help us bring that amazing value, then that's gonna be the winning point. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think it does. I think your short answer about I don't know, I think that's absolutely right. I was thinking when you were explaining about the, Evopath and the task and the fact that when Emil was asking you, well, does it give you task? You can give them task. Well, actually, I think with Evopath or with any kind of tool, as you are saying, in terms of that, I think I can reduce my project management tasks from the role, and actually I should be focusing more on people skills, and I think the function of control, which I learned it when I was a student in one of those 5 management function, and that's control. But I think now you can actually do it through AI, through technology, which will free up some time when it comes to how you manage people and the time for those discussions. Question mark if you're still going to need, as a large organization, same number of people, because I was reading also yesterday, I think KPMG and Amazon, 2 organizations where they look to flatten the middle managers ground. But if you, in the same time, I spoke with people from Romania on one of those companies, and they were saying, I don't know, it's not working. The new generation doesn't want to work, and we need to work more from that perspective. So I think it's a journey when it comes to that.
I think it's another problem there.
Yeah, it's
Not
another
the
problem.
AI.
Yeah, exactly around that. But do you feel that based on where you implemented or where you tested Evopath, there is a resistance of the users this time to use AI because of the fear of, I'm going to actually lose the job rather than be more effective?
Not more than any other technology in the past. Also because I'm more focused to using with early adopters at the moment. So I don't have too much of that. I don't see too much of that in the current stage of Evopath, right? Because I'm also choosing those areas where I can find people who are willing and ready, and they have the mindset that AI is helping them. So let's see how we can put it to work in the best way possible. So
these are the organizations.
Correct.
But at the same time, the people are. Do you feel them all aligned?
Yeah, the people that decide to work with me are the kind of people that want to find those. They want to use AI, and they are big supporters, and they can drive the change. So I'm fortunate that way. Well, fortunate, and it's by design as well, because I'm looking for them more than I'm looking for the more mass adoption kind of decision makers. But that's going to happen later, right? And I think now we are seeing a mass adoption problem in an early cycle of this new technology. And this is a more, it's something that will get sorted out by design later on, when there's going to be enough use cases to show not just what's disrupting, but what is it replacing it with. And that's quite normal in the life cycle of any new anything, right? First, there's the fear that this is going to disrupt this, and I don't know what's going to replace it with, so I'm afraid. And it's normal. But then the more you use it and the more there's use cases, the more it's profitable, the more there's more people doing other things, new things because of this technology, then this kind of vanishes. And, there's just the people out on the fringe going dystopian scenarios about he's going to do this and that. But then for the most part, someone who's been working with AI to understand how it can put it to work in a profitable way, in a repeatable way, in a predictable way, knows that there's a ton of work to make it work that way. So it's not that easy. Oh, now it's gonna work for this use case or that use case, and all the TikTok shorts that we see, that all the examples of success examples. Well, for every couple of success examples, there's 10,000 people who failed because they thought that they built a product that nobody needed, maybe just like it was the case with any other startup, or so. There is a bit of that, but I think that problem will solve itself out once we're there in the life cycle of the new technology that's now arising.
Once people get older.
And they get wiser, you mean?
We get
Or they
wiser.
just get
No.
older?
Yeah,
get older.
yeah, exactly. Same with
So
technology.
how do you see, let's say, an inside sales department in a software company?
Yeah.
In 5 years from now, what is different?
Oh, everything is different. 5 years from now,
I know
that's a tough
this
question.
is equivalent to a question 10 years ago, how it's looking in 50 years. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand what you mean, but it's going to be very different because I see it evolving, and I'm using a lot of inside sales tools as well, and I'm using AI in my daily life as well, also to do the digital footprint, the inbound, outbound campaigns, a lot of that, to qualify some leads. So what I'm seeing is a couple of things. First of all, everybody has the tendency to push agents towards the user interaction layer. And that's a response both from suppliers as much as it is from clients. So I think
when you say user interaction, you are referring, they are pushing agents towards self-service customers from a customer self-service
for
point
lead
of view.
generation, because you mentioned inside sales.
Okay, good. Yeah.
And for example, if I want to do the cold calling, it's not going to be, or a cold reach out, a LinkedIn message or an email message or whatever it may be, a video message sent out. It's more and more automated, and AI is being used more and more. So specific agents are built to
outbound
do that.
automation.
Outbound automation.
Okay.
A very cool thing is that clients are starting to use more and more of that. So I think what we're seeing more and more is that, yeah, absolutely, right? It's the volume. It's
my AI will talk with your AI in order to set an appointment for the two of us. If we qualify.
Or a first level AI agent that is going to be smarter, because you have the inside sales AI who just knows a little bit about the value prop, and you have the client AI who knows a little bit about what I want to buy, and then there's going to be a C-level buyer persona agent speaking with a senior sales agent. So there's going to be,
so they will invite us at the table just to sign the deal.
Yeah, I think we're far from there yet.
7 years.
Luckily. I think we're because also a counter reaction, what I've seen is, and this also has to do with the way in which social media is structured, is the creation of the negative part of it. We call it the echo chambers, but the micro communities.
Yeah.
So there's this, opposed reaction where, sure, to a certain extent, there's this reaction that we want to have. We want to speak more with the people who have the same ideas or opinions, and this is a little bit of the downside, or a side effect of the way in which people communicate these days, especially through social media. But what I identify is a valuable effect on the plus is the creation of the micro communities of micro interests, and the more global effect of things like everybody knowing everything about everything that's going on everywhere. There's an equal reaction that I'm seeing also for all things, interests, all things business, in terms of creating smaller and smaller groups of people interacting to each other based on specific interests. And these things, I think, is kind of getting the best of both worlds, because you have the technology to create those groups in a very interactive manner. For example, I care about, sales, and I can interact with people in the same category and in the same group of interest. And then it brings back, I think, the human interaction, the importance of the human interaction of it. So the more the community is localized in terms of interest, it doesn't have to be geo-localized, or it doesn't have to be geo-limited, let's say, to a certain area, but it's limited in terms of interests. The more the human element goes back into the equation, and I find that to be such a beautiful metaphor of of a closed circle, of a full circle rather. Because the more, there's technology that's kind of making it more agents speaking with agents, and technology speaking between themselves, and the human
inventing their own language,
right? And having to pull the plug out to stop it, to stop a disaster from happening. The more we figure out these communities again. So it's kind of history repeating itself, right? It's a microcosm of the human history and civilization, if you will. The more tribal thing.
So exactly, we are going back to the tribes,
right?
Yeah.
But that's the benefit. There's also a plus to it, and I'm looking at it from a plus perspective, because what technology can do is also to help us bring the human element more into the equation, And sure, there's the challenge of how will I beat my bias to be able to contribute humanely, in a human way, in a way that's how can I contribute in a way that's valuable and in a way that's real and genuine, and not just kind of amplify the echo chamber of a bunch of people thinking the same way about the same topics, but rather having a bunch of diverse people being passionate about the same topic, but maybe just throwing ideas in the agora of ideas, and then figuring out it's about ideas, and it's not about people fighting people, but it's about ideas and arguments
contending with each other.
exactly.
So regarding the vision in 5 years,
Yeah.
we were looking at outbound, and outbound, in your view, it's automated and self-aware, and let's call it marketing will be based a lot of micro communities that will be human driven. How about other functions in the sales department?
I think I wouldn't say miss, but a big, an interesting finding is that my digital footprint, or making it clear real quick what I'm about with my product, my service, to anyone who cares, anyone who wants to find out about me, that's a very simple way, yet a very little used way by many organizations. And the first thing that I'm usually doing, and going back to your question, is the digital footprint or the inbound stuff. And most people say, yeah, but we have to crawl before we walk. We have to create the interest, and we have to go to those. I say, yeah, but before we do that, we need to make it clear what's our value proposition, to nuance it depending on the people that we're speaking with, the personas, with the industries and the buying personas and everything else. And not only that, with the ICP, rather, we have to communicate that through all the channels that we have, whether websites, whether social media, whether, so making sure that we make it clear with all the, marketing, if you will, content, with all the content I'm creating for myself and all the elements of identification, digital identification elements that are talking about me. Whenever someone comes to learn about me, it needs to be very easy and clear. What do I stand for? What does this do? And it's such an amazing finding that not many companies do that. And even, the simplest way, looking at the 2,000 ways of doing it over the website, if I'm looking, especially, let's speak technology, because, there's more self-explanatory industries like agriculture maybe, or things that is more easy to explain, right, in a website. But go visit 100 technology company websites, and then try to tell me in 2 simple sentences, what do they do?
It's difficult.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
So doing the exercise of putting it in simple, plain terms, what do I stand for? And not just the values, but kind of like the value proposition, right? Why is this important for you, dear client? It's a hard task. It's a hard thing to do, but it's the absolute basis in sales. And in my sales accelerator, this is the first thing that we need to figure out.
Yeah.
We pound and pound and pound at it until we figure it out. Why is what you do important for that audience that you want to reach out to? And let's talk about that. Let's shout about that rather. Okay? So that's a huge finding. And this goes back to, and this, I'll just close it. That was a long answer, but I wanted to mention this. I wanted to not leave it out there. It's the more important finding about most, even entrepreneurs, but even, people who've done millions of dollars and they are doing maybe, a spin-off, or they're doing something new, or they want to go into a new market, right? And you still have that scare. Oh, but, we start a project and we're thinking, but, how do we know it's the right market? How can we find the right market? All those questions that they think, how will we find the answer to those questions? Like the right market. or the right product or the right price or the right mix of all those things. And the best news for all these clients of mine is always that's never the issue. At the end of this audit, at the end of this sales accelerator, you will answer your own questions because you've already been successful at something. That's why you're here. Or maybe you've already have a brilliant idea, or maybe you have the nugget of a product market fit that you can expand on. So it's never the lack of an answer to the question, how do I tackle this market or that market? Or what's
the
the
lack
price?
of clarity and focus.
Clarity and execution, the discipline of execution.
Before having the discipline of execution, you need to have the courage to say no to the other 10 things.
Absolutely. But that's exactly my point. That's identifying that is the easy bit. And sure, you need someone to kind of put your head against the wall to kind of stay focused, stay narrow. Don't go in 10 different directions. Be very crisp about your value proposition and find your audience.
And how do you think this would be different in 5 years?
Maybe it won't. Maybe that's what we as humans do best. We are best at understanding also the all the various facets of the business, like we've done so far, and we can use technology like AI to help us put all this into the bucket of decision making. But at the end of the day, it's gonna be hard to to make all these big, in my mind, to execute on big, bold predictions like, oh, I want AI to replace me as the CEO. Okay, I'll think about that. Even
there are steps that were taken.
I mean, there's recent. Sorry,
you've
go ahead.
seen about Grok 4 that was launched yesterday, or 2 days before, about the fact that it got 2 times more profit out of compared to other large language models that were asked to run a business. So it's one of the tests. It's the large language model is asked to run a small business, and it's asked to do profit, and it's asked to manage all the small decisions, buying inventory, managing prices, and everything. And Grok 4 that was just launched has obtained some incredible results on that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily SEO, but it's a start.
No, absolutely. But this is this is a mentality that sees AI is here, people are here, and we're going like this, or maybe slightly divergent.
I think we're going like this.
Exactly, we're going like this, and I think we're gonna hit the tipping point, and we're gonna hit that peak of potential where we see exactly how can we put this to work for us. Because taking a couple or 3 steps back is really important to understand why are we doing all of this, right?
Yeah.
And the reason is, I think, to make us be happier, better, to be more valuable, to have more meaning to our lives, to reach new heights, to find out new things out there, to understand how things work in a better way, to be more productive. So, but it's not technology for the sake of technology, or at least it shouldn't be, in my mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
It should serve a purpose, a human-focused, a human-centered purpose. And our ethos is that we put AI to work for the people, not instead of them. And that's kind of where we're going also with the use cases, to understand how can we make salespeople to be more productive and to put AI to work so that they can answer that in 4 hours instead of 16, or to do in minutes what they were doing in hours before. And then short-term answer is, but that means that, avoided FTE, great, then I can have less people doing that.
Or I can bid more.
Right. And then when we have enough perspective so as to understand, but that means that I can learn, I can develop more, I can create new opportunities for myself as an individual contributor, as a manager. Then we'll get to that convergence, and that's the right single right way to do it in my mind.
How is the traction of the company looking?
I just wanted to ask you, do you have any other questions around that? Because we are approaching towards
Sorry.
the end. So yeah,
I'm still
let's
curious.
put that question
How
again.
is the traction of the company?
Early
looking?
traction was hard. So it was a rough start because we had some great use cases that we started with. So we worked on those, and we raised some initial investment money as well from angels.
Yeah.
And now we're actually in preparation of a VC-backed investment fund.
Nice.
Because we actually started monetize more and more acceleratedly when we understood exactly this, that we need to be really, really crisp and really, really clear about how do we put this to work to this client and to this client and to this client. And sure, it may be there's a bit of a challenge with scalability when it comes to how do I scale the sales acceleration part. But then when you have the first 10 or 20 or 30 or 50 use cases, then you can replicate in a much more scalable way. And this is what we want to prepare for the VC-backed investment round. We want to have enough use cases that we can scale to those new markets where we see a potential, because these use cases are proven. So it's not about some fancy schmancy technology that
AI,
is used, AI,
or whatever.
yeah. But it's about technology that actually helps these organizations be more successful in these 10 specific ways. This is how it can help you, create more pipe or do a better qualification or increase the win rate, because we've put very specific sales processes in place in a more efficient way that we then executed with AI tools, right? So it's not just technology for the sake of technology, but it's a means to an end. It's not the purpose of itself. Mm-hmm. And that's the answer to your question.
Nice.
Thank you very much for sharing all of those. And as we are ending, we have a tradition in the podcast, Stolen with Integrity, from another podcast, which we like.
All right.
And the previous guest left a question for you, in this case, without knowing who the future guest is. Yeah. So the question is like this. What's one thing in your life that you would, if there's no restriction, there's no restriction on technology, budget, etc., you would like to automate?
That I'm not currently automating?
Yes.
Or is there a caveat? I wouldn't say automate so much. Is it about AI or the use of AI in the daily activity, or is it automation in the sense that I'm doing it kind of manually now and I could do it in a more automated manner? Because if we're thinking how can I put AI to work to automate some of the stuff that I'm now doing manually, it's definitely the way I'm handling the relationship with my dogs, because I'm not sure that I'm doing a great. I think I have a lot to learn from that. And there's still some signals that they give me that I don't fully understand. So I think technology could help me a lot.
Barking.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's an angry bark or a happy bark. Still, after all these years, my oldest is 13.
Yeah.
I got a couple of Jack Russells, and I'm still struggling to kind of understand. Yeah, and to have a more a better understanding of what they're saying, what that means. Would you rather want a walk, or is that you want more food, or So I tried quite a few trainers. It didn't quite work out. So I think technology, for me, it would help me tremendously with that.
Improving the relationship with your dog.
Yes. I think they would appreciate it.
Nice.
Well,
thank you very much for sharing that, and thanks for giving us the time here.
Thanks for having me. It was a blast.
Thank you. Spark my curiosity.
Good. Thanks, Marius. You can cut it now.